Andrew, welcome to the show, man.
Great to be with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this journey. We were connected by a mutual friend in Devon Sizemore, and this has to be like the sixth episode. I've said that in the beginning of like the super connector, right? The guy who connects everybody with everybody. But I'm excited to dive into your journey, your experiences, and share a little bit of wisdom with my audience. But why don't we start with who is Andrew today, and then we'll break down how you got there.
Yeah, so man, Andrew today is super grateful. This year we're graduating our oldest from high school and our youngest from diapers. And then there's five more in between. So Andrew today is getting ready to coach his very first Little League team on Saturday and go skiing up in the mountains with my kids the Monday after that and coaching in between the people that I just love. And I I'm grateful that work allows me to spend the time with my wife and kids and nature that I love most. So, yeah, that's where I'm at today.
How do you find a quiet place in your house with seven kids?
We have quiet time after lunch for 2 hours where the 2-year-old naps and everyone else knows they get to hang out in their room until mom and dad have some sandy. I office away from home, so that helps.
That's
But
huge.
yeah, implemented quiet time. Like literally, that's how we do it.
No, dude, I can't even imagine. We have two kids in our house, and just even the running around that we have to do with two, I imagine the schedule is quite busy with seven, and then taking on the role of coach. What kind of coach are you, as far as the little
Yeah.
league? Not as we'll get into the business stuff, but as far as little league.
Yeah, Little League. This is going to be a head coach of a minor league team. My son is turning 8. And here in Boise, in this area, we don't have a ton of baseball kids. So there's 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds. So they just lump them all together. And so I'm going to be the head coach of this team. And I got my brother-in-law, who doesn't have a son. He's just my sister's husband. He's a cool uncle. So he's going to help me coach this team so that I don't have to create trauma for my son as being, the coach, dad coach. That's my goal there. Very purposeful and intentional to not create problems for him.
Yeah, dude, it's they say that I think it's like 85% of your imprints happens before the age of seven. So
Mm,
those early developmental years are super important, right? Because when
yeah.
we look back as adults, a lot of times we look back and go, "Oh man, why do I have that issue? Or why do I have a short fuse? Or why do I have this?" And a lot of times we could trace it back to our childhood and things that had happened. And then that's the work that we do as humans, as we get older to make sure that we can heal from those things. But why don't we talk a little bit about the work that you do? Because I find it so fascinating. That's why after we connected, I was like, dude, I have to have you on the show. Talk a little bit about the work you do and how you help people.
Yeah. So I like to say that I want to be the last coach that someone has to work with. Most coaches say, "Tell me what you want, and I'll help you get there." And then they end up either firing the coach or thinking that coaching doesn't work for them because what happened was on their journey to getting what they wanted, they either self-sabotage or they get there and they're still not happy. So the work that I do is with people that have had coaches, they've had counselors and therapists, and um, they're still not able to figure out why am I so successful in all these areas of my life, but in this one area I continue to just hit my head against the wall. And so we get to the root cause, the stuff you were talking about before, right? Like deep down, unconscious mind, what is going on that is preventing you from finding that happiness and fulfillment? So that's the work I do. I've got modalities we can talk about and experience of hundreds of people that we've done this with, but it's the deep work.
Yeah. I've talked to so many ultra successful people that and by ultra successful, worth half a billion, a billion, whatever, and you realize they carry all this trauma with them, and then all of a sudden they come to this realization of like, oh wait, I've just been chasing all this stuff my entire life,
Mhm.
trying to find what was missing, and I have to go inward. But you'd mentioned something super important, which is the unconscious mind. How
Right.
does somebody unlock even what that trauma may be or may be from if it's just unconscious? Like they're not even thinking about it, they might not even remember it.
Yeah. Well, when I blew out my ACL and meniscus playing basketball, I didn't open it up and see what was going on in there. I paid to have a surgeon who had done this over 1,000 times. And I think the same thing goes with our minds. We like to believe that we can read a book, do a meditation, try some ayahuasca, go to a retreat, and then like figure it out. But I use a process called mental and emotional release. Dr. Matt James wrote the book, and he trained me personally, and we we just use this method, and I've done this 334 times. It's a 5 to 6 hour session that I split up over 2 days, and that's on average 1 week for the last 7.5 years. That's what I do,
Wow.
and it's pretty remarkable.
So talk a little bit about that. Like, how can somebody begin that process? Obviously, yes, working with you, but obviously there's a book about it, right? So what's the
Yeah,
modality that people can use to begin to unlock this?
well, they can read the book, and but again, like I don't want to. I'm not trying to like have everyone just come rush to talk to me about it, but I mean, you can read the book on knee surgery. You can figure out exactly I mean, but it's just like I don't even do this work on myself, Justin. Like I have my best friend who we got trained together. We're roommates at this event, and we coach each other. We help each other when we are finding places where we're stuck. So you can read the book, it'll open your eyes. And there's some things there that you'll start to begin to understand, but you just got to have a professional help you do the work.
Yeah. So you mentioned, we help each other whenever we get a little stuck, because it's not a once and done thing, right? It's not rinse and repeat. What's the process look like as far as okay, now I've hit another roadblock. Do I have to go through the coaching again, or like, what does that all look like?
Yeah, so let me give you an example. I've got clients that have literally been with me for 9 years, and 8 years are the longest. I don't think I have a 7 or 6 right now. So with these people, we do the big breakthrough, and that takes care of everything immediately. And we don't ever have to do that work again. And usually what's happening is there's one area of their life, whether it's their career, their marriage with their significant other or spouse, their family, their health and fitness, or there's this like deep personal or spiritual like crisis that's going on. So we do the work in one area, but it takes care of everything beneath the surface in all the areas of their life until they're at a place where they're hitting a ceiling of achievement. So let me give you an example from my life. Okay. I did this work when I became a practitioner, and it helped me take care of a lot of stuff. And then there was a time when I wanted to start coaching people at a higher level that had higher net worths. And I realized that I wasn't able to, close these new clients because I didn't know or believe that I could be worthy to charge this amount of money and help these kinds of people.
Mm.
Because growing up, those kinds of people, I realized, had cheated on both of my sisters, screwed my dad out of a business opportunity when I was born. And
Wow.
I realized that I didn't believe they were bad people. I just didn't think I could trust them. And I didn't want to lose my soul by working with or becoming one of them. But I didn't know all of that until I worked with my dear friend and coach, and we figured out this is the root cause. And once we took care of that, I can step in a room with anyone and there's no comparison, and I don't have to try to prove myself. I just share what I do and see if they need the help and if they want to trust me to do the work. So we can do the work very simply in other areas, but we don't have to spend, 5 to 6 hours like we do initially.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that master unlock, and then you can move through the modalities a lot faster after that.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't have to do it very often. Like with Kara, who I've coached for 9 years, we hardly ever do this anymore because she's just like in flow, and now we're just building and creating new opportunities for her business and her life, and it's all building rather than digging like most therapy and counseling is.
Yeah. No, I love this approach, because at some point the digging needs to stop, right? Like, you have to then be able to rebuild, right? You have to dig the foundation and then rebuild everything that you're doing after that. And I think a lot of times people miss that. I've had some great therapists and I've had some not so great therapists, and the not so great ones made me kind of feel worse for going through the things, right? And they weren't truly helping me through. It was almost like they wanted to keep me in their process. Like, okay, hey, he's helping me pay the bills, so I'm just going to keep him here in this process. And I remember years ago, I found this therapist, and he goes, I plan on working with you for 6 months and then be done with you. And it was like the most refreshing thing I had ever heard. And we actually, like, hit on all the important things and learned certain things that I could do to help kind of overcome some of the thinking and why I was acting the way that I was. And he was kind of the one that pointed out to me that I had abandonment issues, which is wild. Like, you talk about unlocking these things, right? And I'm like,
Right.
oh no, I didn't. I was like, I've never been abandoned. And he goes, well, right. And he starts to break down like some of the things that I had been through, and it was quite fascinating. And but then once you get to the building process, what does that approach look like for you? Because one thing is, hey, I've been trained in this modality, but the second piece is now I have to help you build a life. What does that
Yeah,
all look like?
exactly. So 8 out of 10 people that come to me, we just do that breakthrough experience, 5 to 6 hours. We follow up, we stay friends. I tell them you have a lifeline for a lifetime. Um, the other 2 out of 10 people say, I want you in my corner.
Mm.
Like, will you be like my business life part? Like, I want to have you there in every decision that I make. So after the breakthrough, if someone wants to coach with me, we do 2 1-hour sessions a month. I have a mastermind with my clients, and then up to daily contact. I've got a client right now that runs a business in Mexico, and that's where his wife's family is from, and he's not here in America, and he doesn't have a business partner. He's a solopreneur with a small team that he's running the show, and he just loves having a sounding board to make decisions for himself and his family and his business. And um, I'm asking him the questions that no one else will ask him, and there to support him. And we sometimes, like in a week, we'll talk, more than once a day. My clients have been with me for years. We talk once a week because I'm checking in to see how they're doing in between our sessions. So it really just becomes that place of support, accountability, interrogation of like your thoughts and just why you're doing what you're doing and making sure that it's serving, all aspects of your life.
How did you find this? Like, how did you just stumble upon the book? Like, how did you get into this world?
Yeah. So I got into this world at St. Luke's Hospital in 1985, thanks to my mom. Uh, but the coaching world, I was introduced. I'd had a career of teaching for 6 years. I went through a separation and divorce in year 7 of our marriage, and we had 3 little girls. And at this time in my life, I believed that I was struggling with a lot of mental illnesses that prevented me from being a good husband and father. And I realized that I was going through a lot of things that men go through in their mid 20s and late 20s. But I found myself unemployed, sitting in a real estate school, getting a license to sell houses, and that landed me at Keller Williams. And Keller Williams is all things personal growth, development, and coaching.
Yeah.
And I got to coach myself in that first year. And I just fell in love with the process. And after a year of selling houses, I was offered a position to start coaching new agents. And that just opened up the world of coaching. And then Keller Williams has a transformational coaching program that where they use these deep processes to help people at a high level. And I did that for a year while building a coaching team here in Boise locally. And then after working with Keller Williams for about 3 years in that capacity, then I just broke off on my own and said, I want to help people all over in all kinds of industries. And so I really have Keller Williams to thank and my great mentors and coaches that showed me, how we can change people's lives and help them not just make a lot of money, but make a lot of impact as well.
I love that. And a lot of times the road we start down, it takes us to a completely different road and we didn't even realize it, right? And that's such a great example of it. How did you know it was time to make the leap? I think a lot of entrepreneurs are hearing the noises, right? Like I want to do this thing, but this thing's paying the bills, and they're afraid to make the shift. Like how did you know it was time, and what pushed you to jump in?
Yeah. So I go through this with people that I coach now. You just know it, whether you want to call it your gut or your conscience or your intuition or the Holy Spirit himself. Like if you slow down long enough and choose to never let your head talk you out of something your heart knows to be true, then you'll get into that place of flow. And you really just have to follow your intuition, as well as put great people around you that know your heart. So I had family members and friends and people that were helping me make this career change, and that I was, sharing all my fears and insecurities about. And they helped put all those limiting beliefs back into the place that they came from, which is nowhere, right? It's just BS, monsters in the closet that we make up to keep ourselves quote unquote safe, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. I love the idea of making sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. The downside of that is, especially like you got lucky, right? You said you had your family. A lot of times, family will keep you stuck, right? Because they're trying to protect you. They're not doing it from a bad place. But if you're like, hey, I'm leaving my corporate job and I'm gonna go build this business, they'll be like, whoa, 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 you're crazy. Don't do it, right? Like a lot of people have that. How do you make sure that you're constantly surrounded by the right people as you grow and evolve? Because the circle changes.
Yeah. Uh, I'm super nerdy about this. I actually have a note in my iPhone. I'm gonna pull it up. Like at the note is called number one so that it shows up at the top. So it's not alphabetical. And it's called My Mission. So like my life mission will grow to the depth of my relationships. And I have 10 spots for personal friends. And I can never have more than 10 personal friends that I'm thinking about or focusing on any given time. And I rate them. And if they're not a 9 or a 10 in terms of I give to them and they give to me, then they come off the list. And it's not that I don't care about them or think about them. It's just I'm not intentionally looking at their name on a weekly or whatever basis, thinking, have I reached out to them? What do they need? When was the last time we spent together? I have one of my sisters and her husband's that's on this list, but I have other siblings that aren't. It's not that I don't love them, it's just they're not getting that full attention. So I have that. I've got my professional advocates on there. I've got my future professional advocates. I've got my clients. I've got my leads. I don't use a CRM. I just have all the most important people, not named my wife and children, on this sheet. And I just look at it all the time. I think, okay, what am I doing with these people? And are they pouring into me like I'm pouring into them? And if not, then those aren't relationships that are going to serve me in the long run.
Dude, I love it. That's I love your approach to it. 'Cause, like, it doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I don't care about them, but it's about your attention. It's about your time. It's about your energy. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people in friendships, relationships, even if a marriage that can be draining and they don't even realize it. How do you reflectively look on that when you're removing somebody from the list? And is there ever any guilt around it?
There used to be, but I've done all the deep work, right? And I do it with others all the time. So it's just it's like the analogy of pruning a fruit tree. Have you ever done this, Justin? Have you ever pruned a fruit tree before?
No, and I
It's
can
a
probably
very
tell you
simple
that I won't
concept.
ever.
Okay, let me teach you because I'm sure you enjoy good fruit that, gets delivered to your house if you do it
Yep.
like my wife does, or you get it from the grocery store. When you prune a fruit tree, you may have like 4 or 5 different apples growing in one little area from the same stem. They can't all grow to their full potential from that one stem. So you have to thin them by pulling all of them off and only allowing for one apple to grow on that one little tiny stem.
Mm,
And then you do that throughout the whole tree. And then at the end of the season, you start to take away the actual branches to allow more light to come in. And the way you do this is intentionally and purposely to maximize the production of the nutrients and the water that's going to the fruit. So if you look at all the people and you have, 100 friends, which is probably true. If you think about everyone you've gone to high school with and worked with and people, neighbors, like you might have 100 or 200, like you have 100 friends, like of the 100, who are the 10 right now at this time that I'm going to pour into because they're also pouring into me. And these other ones, they may come back later, but right now, all of the light, all of the energy, all the resources, we need to be a good steward of all of that so that we're not, running around pretending to be everything for everyone and giving 30%. I'd rather give 100% to, a handful of people than, pretend to show up and not keep commitments and have people resent me.
yeah. Has anybody ever, you said they may come back again. So I'm curious, has anybody ever been off the list and then they came back onto the list?
That usually happens more with clients than friends. Because having coached for, I'm in my 12th year right now. I have one guy who started with me at the very beginning, and he has left and come back 4 or 5 different times. So I've never had friends. I think the older I get, these friends, they just kind of stick longer.
Yeah.
I got a friend that's on here that I've known since I was 12 years old. Another one that I met when I was in Europe as a missionary. We've known each other for 20 years now. Um, the newest one that I just added today, we met in this last year, and I invited her into a small mastermind group there's 5 of us, and I just know I'm going to be friends with her for life. So, yeah, I'm grateful for those relationships for sure.
Dude, I love it. So I want to ask you a question I ask every single person on the show. It's a two-part question. First part is, what is your definition of success? And the second part is, what are three things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Yeah, so my definition of success is, the worthy pursuit of a fulfilling goal. And worthy is super subjective to each person. Like, is this worth my time? Is it worth my energy? Is it worth everything that I prepared for? So the worthy pursuit of a fulfilling goal. Is this really something that is going to bring fulfillment to me? And if I'm pursuing it and I'm not there yet, and that's okay. And that could be in, terms of uh, spending this morning from 5 a.m. to 6:30 with my 2-year old so my wife could sleep. That was success. I kept him quiet enough to not wake her up while we were playing games and reading stories. And my 7-year old woke up and wanted to run on the treadmill. So it's 6:15 in the morning, and my 7-year old running on the treadmill while my 2-year old is sitting on the rowing machine, and I'm just keeping them as quiet as possible. So that's my definition of success, a worthy pursuit of a fulfilling goal. And then the three things that I do on a daily basis, I do a journal entry every morning, bare minimum, 5 gratitudes. Can I look back on yesterday and find 5 things I'm grateful for?
Mm.
I may turn that into a longer journal entry, but at the very least, I've listed 5 things or people or events that happened that I'm grateful for. That helps me keep alignment uh, and accountability. So that'd be the first thing. Um, we have dinner together every night as a family, every single night. It's really important. And not every child is always there, but mom and dad are there 90% of the time, and both of us. And then, like at least one of us, we're always there. We always have dinner together as a family. So that keeps things in alignment between work and family. And then the last thing that we do in our home that's important to us is we pray. My wife and I have a couple prayer together at night. We pray together as a family, at least over meals, and I have individual meditation and prayer time. So for me, staying connected to my Creator and knowing that the things that I'm grateful for and the time I'm spending is being, you know, being accounted for in a bigger picture than just right here, right now with my all these people on this list.
Yeah, yeah. And so what's your meditation practice look like?
So it varies. I did a meditation the exact same for 60 minutes every morning for 3 years straight.
Jeez.
That was like that was very consistent. But now my morning routine is completely thrown out the window because of my 2-year old. So I may have a 15-minute window today where I just lay back in this chair here and stick my feet up and put on some meditation music. I try to do it at least once a day. It doesn't always happen, and it's kind of scattered. And I use all different kinds of meditations from Joe Dispenza to different HC frequencies and Wayne Dyer or Louise Hay or I have HoloSync, which is this program that I used for 3 years. So it's very sporadic right now, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. Look, hey, there's life is a constant evolution, right? We have to adjust to our environment around us. And I can't imagine life with a 2-year old. I was fortunate enough to marry my wife when the kids were already a little bit older. And so I never had to deal with diapers. I didn't have to deal with any of that stuff. It's a whole different world. I mean, I did as an uncle, but that's way different, right? Like it was easy to be the fun uncle and when that diaper needed to be changed up, where's your mom? Let's go, let's go find your mom. And
Yeah,
so, it's
exactly.
it's just it's absolutely crazy, man. So I want to ask you this question as well as, we reflect and, we understand things are greater than us. And you've coached so many people and you've been on podcasts and you've shared your content and you've shared your wisdom with so many people. But I want you to fast forward to the end of your life, hopefully 300 years from now. And you're on your deathbed and everything that you've created, every piece of content, everything has vanished and you can only be remembered for one sentence. What would you want that sentence to be?
I've written my eulogy, Justin. I've actually written it. I'm looking at it right here. It's at the bottom of my journal so that every time I do an entry, I can remember what it's all about. So
Mm,
here's the one sentence. You ready? Andrew Lee Anderson is a man of high integrity, showing Christ-like love to all he impacts throughout the world.
I love it. I love that you had that there. I actually walked my mastermind through that process at our last meetup when we were in New Orleans, and so everybody wrote their own eulogy, and it was an eye opening experience, right? It really allows you to kind of reflect and say, okay, well, am I living that life the way that I want to live it, and will I be remembered for being that person, which I love, man. And the few conversations that you and I've had, you certainly are on that trajectory, and you can tell you're a man who reflects back on that often. So I love that, dude. So what are you working on next, man? Obviously, as entrepreneurs, we're always building, we're always growing, we're always looking to do the next thing. What are you working on?
This is such a great question. I hope I can be the person that answers it maybe differently than anyone else. Um, Nothing. I'm working on this. We got this little league assessment day, which is what we now call tryouts. So like we have assessment day coming on, and I'm honestly at this point where I know I will have future big goals and things I create in my business, but right now I'm really happy with the 20 people I'm coaching, the referrals I'm getting, and I don't have anybody employed. I'm not doing any marketing. I'm just sitting here grateful and I'm in flow and so my work right now is my kids and my wife. That's what
I
I'm
love it.
creating. I'm creating relationships and memories and trust and trying not to kill them on a daily basis.
So you've mentioned the word flow twice, and I think that's a word that gets thrown around a lot, and I think everybody has a different interpretation. What is your interpretation of flow and being in flow?
It's just like it's easy. Is there anything, Justin, that you do like for fun that is just easy? And if people watch, they'd be like, "Man, you make that look so easy."
Yeah,
Do-
probably. I mean, this podcast, I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult a podcast can be. But I've been doing it every single week for 10 years. So for me, it's just in flow, and I love having these conversations and seeing where they go and being able to react in the proper way. So for sure, yeah.
Okay, so as a coach, I just found your system. Here's what it is, right? I worked hard at it. I love it and it's fun. So for you, that's what flow means. Okay. For
Mm.
me, when I'm snow skiing, I know that when people watch me from the chairlift, they're like, man, that dude is really good because it's easy. I don't have to think about it. I worked really hard following my older brother and sister, learning how to become a great skier as a little boy. Right? I paid the price and now it's fun and it's easy and I love it. So for me, that's what flow is about. You're doing something you love, you've worked hard at it, and it's now become easy. And people look at you and they recognize a level of mastery.
I love it, dude. That's a great explanation. And the fun part is super important. So every time I get a new opportunity presented to me, which it happens a lot when you have 600 plus conversations over the course of 10 years with high performers, people are
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I've got this idea. You want to do it with me?" I ask
Yeah.
myself two main questions. One is, well, three main questions. One, does it fall in line with what I feel my purpose is? But two, how
Mhm.
much time is it going to take? Because I'm a big fan of not working a ton. I think we talked about that when we first connected. And then the third thing is it going to be fun? Because I refuse to do anything that's not
Right.
fun, right? We only get one life. Sometimes it's short, and you don't know when it's going to end. So might as well enjoy every single thing that you're doing, including the things that you need to do in order to pay the bills. And so
Yep.
yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head. I see why you're so good at what you do. I absolutely love it,
Mhm.
dude. So I wrap up every single interview with the same question, but before we get there, how do people find you, connect with you, all the good stuff? Because I know you don't have a huge marketing plan, you don't reach out to people, but you are a referral based
Yeah.
business. But how do people find you?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can go to my website, andrewlanderson.com, or you can reach out to Justin and he'll connect us. I will gladly take a text or a phone call from anybody. I don't, I'm pretty accessible.
I love it, dude. And we'll make sure that we link that up in the show notes, and we'll spell the name right, so that way people can people can find your website, find you on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
unlike
Oh,
me scheduling our first podcast where I misspelled my name and didn't get the email reminder. So everyone now knows I stood Justin up on our first real date.
and but see now, people who know me at the core, they know that that means I like you, that I actually rescheduled it. So that's a good
Yeah,
thing. It's a good thing, man. I'm glad we
yeah.
had this conversation. So like I said, I wrap
Well,
up
but
every
then
single.
again, you also let's be fair to listener. Like you also had to cancel last minute on our second date.
That
So
is
it
true.
this is our third podcast date.
But we're doing it, man. Third time's a charm, and it's working
That's
out
right.
super well. So like I said, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. Since the show is called the Growth Now Movement, that question is: in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Yeah. Um, Biggest moment of growth up to this point, and this changes, but the one that's the biggest for me was When my first marriage ended, and I'm sitting on my bed reading Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. In fact, I'm going to pull it off my shelf, and I'll end with this quote because he's one of my greatest mentors. He said, as we who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything, and I'm going to add my note here, a marriage, a family, a career, because that's what I was losing. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. I made a choice when I read this very book, sitting on my bed in my parents' basement. That was my makeshift bedroom at the time. I just made a decision that I was going to choose to approach this differently than the way a lot of people do when the things that are most important to them are apparently taken away. And I'm grateful for that choice. I used to pity that kid, 28 years old, 29, living in my parents' basement, but I respect him. And he got me here. And Viktor Frankl helped. So that was one of the greatest moments of growth for me personally.
Awesome, man. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and wisdom with my audience, dude. This was a ton of fun. Keep doing the work, man. You're changing lives, you're changing the world. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. You keep doing it. You're good at it. It's flow. You're a master.
Thanks, brother.